You can rise above every economic issue, every tariff matter, every global financial collapse matter, every relational matter, if you will learn to fly and behave like an eagle versus a pigeon. Let me explain. If you look around, it's now April 7th, 2025. We are living in very interesting times. We are living in very prophetic times. And what you can be tempted to do if you're not careful is to live in fear, which is false evidence appearing real. I choose to always view the glass as half full, not half empty. Because within every opportunity, it is preceded by an obstacle. And when you look at the eagle, specifically the bald eagle, it tells us a lot about a lot, which is this. An eagle is a hunter. A pigeon is a scavenger. So as it relates to dealing with economic matters and relational matters, it is going to require that you and I make a wise decision to live, lead, and move like an eagle. When you look at an eagle, because an eagle essentially hunts, an eagle is representative of a creator, a doer, an inventor, a builder, an entrepreneur, an independent thinker, a boss. A pigeon, on the other hand, is very nice, very timid, a follower, a worker. And the interesting thing as it relates to achieving maximum success or dealing with personal or professional relationships is you have got to learn in life and in business settings to identify every individual by mindset and mentality. Am I dealing with an eagle or am I dealing with a pigeon? Because the interesting thing is, as the saying goes, is an eagle should never fly with a pigeon. Because when you even look at the practical example of an eagle, a bald eagle can fly at 20,000 feet or higher. A pigeon can only fly at 6,000 feet. And yet a pigeon will always criticize and condemn an eagle. Why he flying that high? Who do he think he is? I bet you he think he better than us. You ain't no better than us. We could fly that high too. We just don't want to. See, that is a loser's mentality. And if you're not careful, you can unknowingly be an eagle who is designed to fly at high altitude as a hunter, to stoop and belittle yourself to the mentality and the mindset of a pigeon. Now, eagles fly alone. And that is where the greatest obstacles usually lie for independent thinkers, doers, leaders. You see, the journey of leadership can oftentimes be very lonely. And yet you're not lonely at all if you are wise enough to do two things. Is number one, you consult your Heavenly Father. Because that is the only source for everything in terms of where you should seek wisdom, instruction, reassurance, confidence. And yet the reality of it is, in a practical sense, you as an eagle must only surround yourself with other eagles. While eagles fly alone, they only fly in a group. They are at a rare altitude. So what that means is, good sir and ma'am, you have to be very intentional, personally and professionally, to only surround yourself with other eagles. Me personally, I keep my group very small. I believe that what is in my and everyone's best interest is to do a lot for a few, not do for a lot and only be able to do for a few. Because ultimately, I understand that I've been called to be an eagle, and yet that understanding is going to require that I be honest and realistic with myself, and not have overly inflated expectations, but to also not have underperforming expectations. Because the reality of it is while pigeons are looking up, condemning and complaining and criticizing, as an eagle, guess what? I have the ability and the fortunate opportunity to see life at a much higher altitude, meaning those things that may influence and affect you, I fly higher above it, or I see it from further distance, meaning it really ain't that big of an issue, actually. Why? Because I can see from a bird's eye view. I can discern and determine my next move, right? Because I have a much broader view, a bigger picture. I want to talk a little more about the eagle, and it's this. Being a powerful individual who creates, invents, builds, develops, right? What you are going to have to understand is that God gave you the ability to use your imagination and to envision as one of your greatest tools when you live, think, and act like an eagle. Let me prove it to you. You see, when God created us in his image, by that virtue alone, we too are like God, which is we are co-creating spirits, meaning in the same aspect that God spoke and it was, what? That required a plan, that required vision, that required imagination to then speak what it is I want. God has created you to be the same exact way. And yet where most of us go wrong is we use the ability or capability to envision or imagine to dramatize or exaggerate all of the worst circumstances, many and most of which will never actually happen. Because what I've learned in life is with enough time and persistence, everything honestly takes care of itself in its season. Let me say that again. Everything takes care of itself with enough time and patience in its season. But it requires that you operate at a higher altitude, that you be able to see the forest from the trees, right? And not be blinded by the upfront in your face situations and circumstances that can cause beliefs that aren't even real, actually. And so I want to challenge you as builders, as doers, is to understand that as a co-creating spirit, God gave you the ability to envision and imagine so that you could determine in your mind's eye what it is you want so that you can see the vision, knowing that it's possible to be real, that it's possible because it's real. Why? Because if I can conceive it, I can achieve it, is the cliche saying, but it's a fact. Because what you have to realize is that by having that mentality, you are operating in the highest form because ultimately you understand the rare secret that most don't, which is, guess what? When I envision, we come up with a plan by working it in reverse. And guess what? We figure it out. It's going to take 5 years to figure it out, 10 years to get good, 20 years to be great. You see, the lie that eagles understand that pigeons don't is a pigeon is oftentimes indecisive, waiting for perfect circumstances on a scavenger mentality. That's never the formula. Never has been, never will be. And ultimately, what that means is instead of waiting, as leaders or as eagles, as hunters, as builders, as doers, we are to take it. We are to seize it by force. What? From a different mindset, from an elevated perspective, right? Only flying with other eagles, realizing that really greatness and to lose at anything requires the same amount of effort. Just like it requires the same effort to do a small deal as it does a big deal, it requires the same effort to be in fear. It requires the same effort to be in faith. At the end of the day, what a wise man would do is choose to work smarter, not harder. But you are going to have to elevate your mindset and think, live, and behave like an eagle and never a pigeon. And so what I want you to really embrace in this conversation is for you to be the most effective leader, you are going to have to make a decision to be delivered from people if you want to be a deliverer to people. I'm going to say that again. If you want to be a deliverer to people, you must be delivered from people. So therefore, when you notice pigeon mentalities, criticizing, condemning, comparing, accusing you, saying, oh, you think you better. No, it's because, I live better, I think better, therefore I demand better. Because why? It starts with my mindset. It begins with who I choose to spend my time with, the things that I focus on. It means that I have to make a quality decision, right? Instead of chasing the box, I'm going to chase the bag. I have to make the quality decision that I'm not going to, every weekend or every week want to hang out and play. What? No, I got work to do. I got plans to prepare. I got visions to execute. I have opportunities that I need to reverse engineer. And what that means is to fly at that level, it's going to require some sacrifices. Guess what? That bald eagle is going to have to use much more strength and energy to climb the 20,000 feet that it's capable of. But once it's up there, it's gliding. Whereas that pigeon is going to have to use a lot less effort to get to 6,000 feet. But yet it will never be capable of living an elevated life to which it's been called simply because of its mentality and mindset. Therefore, eagle, you need to understand doesn't matter what a pigeon is thinking or doing. However a pigeon move or live, I ain't doing none of that. Let the pigeon criticize and condemn me because it only wish it could operate at this level. And so as the founder of the Developer Nation app, I want you to click the link in the description and I want you to join us, whether it be your vision is related to small or large scale real estate. We want to educate you. We want to equip you. We want to partner with you, assuming your project is viable and feasible, in order to introduce your project to our capital partner sources ranging from family office, high net worth, private equity, hedge fund. We're assuming your project is viable and feasible. We too will help you think like an eagle and fly among eagles so that you too can build generational wealth for your children's children. As always, I'm Shaun J. Ford, real estate developer and author. I want to remind you, please subscribe, like, comment. Any questions or ideas you post, I will personally respond, as I want to certainly meet you wherever you are for these episodes and future ones to come. And as always, remember, Eagle, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. I will see you in the next episode.